Okay, welcome to Module 5, where we are talking about how materials are transported through the body. So this is going to be focusing on the heart and cardiovascular systems. So some supplies that your students are going to need is 1, alcohol pads to sanitize their stethoscopes, which is the second thing you're going to need. Third is a blood pressure monitor, one of these things with the little cups. These require AA batteries on the back, and these have been running out of batteries. So if you need any, there are some in the cabinet in the first room on that back wall. If not, you can send a student, or you can go run up and grab some batteries from the stock room. But in case you can't find them in the classroom or we run out of them, the stock room is the place to go on floor 2 or level 2. And then the last thing is a heart monitor, or not a heart monitor, a heart model, because you're going to teach your students the flow of the heart. So there's background information on the cardiovascular system on page 59. And then on page 60, it gets into the heart structure and the function, getting into like the atria and the ventricles. This is a good idea to pull out the model and show that to your students. And then you lead into exercise 1. And exercise 1 is going to be focusing on heartbeat and flow. So students will be learning how the two sounds make one heartbeat, the lub-dub situation. And so stethoscopes, I believe it recommends to place it on the left side of your heart, or the 5th rib is another recommended place. And so you will take your heartbeat for 30 seconds and you will count your heartbeat. Okay, perfect. That is exercise 1. And then there is some answers to question, or some questions to answer about the heartbeat. And then there is the flow of the heart, where students will have to write how blood flows, navigates through the heart. Next goes, the next section goes into heart attacks and what can cause heart attacks. And that leads into exercise 2, which is heart rate and blood pressure at rest. So in this activity, it's kind of similar to the stethoscope one in exercise 1, but instead of just the 30 seconds, you're sitting there for 3 minutes, and then you'll count the 30 seconds period. This is to measure the heart rate at rest, because the next activity will focus on heart rate during exercise. So yes, blood pressure, going over systole and diastole, and then how pulse pressure is measured with the sphygmomanometer. It's on page 62. And then 63, this is going to be blood pressure. So instead of heart rate being measured with the 2 fingers on your like radial artery, blood pressure is going to be done with the cuff itself. So heart rate is with the fingers on your radial artery, and blood pressure is going to be with the cuff. So for the cuff, your students will be sitting. Some things to know about this is that students' blood pressure in class tends to be higher naturally anyways. And that's because of a bunch of different things. They're around their peers. It gives you some low-grade anxiety. They probably walked in from the library and are like, panting and stuff, and just getting into like a sitting stage or whatever. So if your students have a higher blood pressure than they would think themselves to have, or it categorizes them in a category that may alarm them, be sure to let them know that they are probably likely going to have an elevated blood pressure right now, just because of who we are as humans and the situations we're in currently and how we're doing this. So this, you put the cuff on your thing, and then you just go ahead and push this power button, and then it's gonna go ahead and start to go. This is the systole, this is diastole, and then this is going to be the pulse pressure. And I'm gonna let you know right now, this takes a long time, and longer than even I remember, because I start to panic as this crushes my arm, which it's doing currently. We're going, oh, systole is doing something. This hurts my arm. Okay, well, we're still going. Any TAs into Taylor Swift? Midnight's is coming out in like 2 weeks. Oh, buddy. Yep, my arm's starting to hurt now. The blood's definitely going somewhere. Or something. It's feeling not good. Okay, yeah, this is like where I'm starting to get uncomfortable. And I'm like, is this normal? Why isn't this stopping? But I don't want to release it, because then I'm going to have to do this again. But I don't like this feeling. It's quite uncomfortable. Ma'am? Are you, hello? Oh, it just stopped. Okay, see, like I said, there's my results. That scared me. Yeah, like I said, I even forget. So that is my information here. I will go ahead and record my systolic, diastolic, all of that stuff. Does my blood pressure fall into the normal range? Yeah, I'm 113/77, so that makes me less than 120/80. So that means I'm good to go. But in case if it doesn't, be sure to let your students know that there is a possibility that their blood pressure is just gonna be elevated because of like their young students who are around their young peers. Yeah. So that is blood pressure. Okay. So exercise 3 is investigating factors affecting heart rate and blood pressure. But now we're exercising instead of just being at rest. Oops. So you want your students to do some sort of, oh buddy, like medium to light exercise, just to get their blood pumping for 4 minutes. Some things to note about this is that you don't want to force your students to do anything. You don't want them to feel like they have to do any type of exercise if they don't want to, because why are we going to force them to do that? Just kidding. It's a safety thing. Another good thing to know is, just in case something does happen, anything happens with your student, it's just a good time to, make sure you know where the phone is at. Make sure you know your students' names, things like that, because there, I think, have been scenarios where something happens with students, nothing major, but last semester I did have to call an ambulance because I had a student pass out, not during the activity, but before. It was just a coincidence that it happened, but it was good prep because it happens, and so you just want to be wary of that. So after 4 minutes, your students will be taking their heart rate and blood pressure again. They already did it in exercise 2 at rest. So exercise 3, they can just start exercising, and then they will measure their stuff while they're exercising. Okay, I think that's good enough. So now they're gonna measure their heart rate and blood pressure in 4 intervals immediately afterwards. and for intervals afterwards. All right, one more time. Here we go, and we gotta count. .40 heart rate in 30 seconds. So that's 80 beats per minute. And my exercise rate is 138/93. 138/93. I'm writing that for my own health. And so students will then, this is the last time they'll use the blood pressure monitor. After this, they will only be using the heart rate, which is the 2 fingers, to measure at 2 minutes, 4 minutes, and then 6 minutes post exercise. Yeah, so the only one that blood pressure is measuring is at rest in exercise 2, and then immediately after exercise in exercise 3. And the last thing about this is that students will go ahead and fill out their chart, but then we also want to compare what that's going to look like across the class for both male and females, and athletes and non-athletes. The important thing to remember about this activity and how students are going to categorize themselves, it's a self-label. So male, female, it's how they identify. And for athletes and non-athletes, again, that is up for them to decide amongst themselves if they consider themselves an athlete or non. Just, yes, that language we want to be aware of. Okay, you don't have to like play on a professional sport to be an athlete. So yes, and then you have, based on the shared results, you have a summarization table where you'll combine both all the females to males, comparing females athletes to non-athletes, and then comparing male athletes to non-athletes. So that is the conclusion to lab 5. So 3 exercises. 1 is just going to be heart rate. Second one is going to be heart rate and blood pressure at rest. And then exercise 3 is the heart rate and blood pressure activity during exercise. Okie dokie. Good luck this week.